Ready? Okay. Okay, this is Sheila, Cecilia Perez de Zucman, giving you a little history of the Perez family. Jimmy and Fritzy had called a while back, and they had questions about family history, and so I've been kind of thinking about it, and Glenn decided that we should make a little tape and talk about it. I guess a good starting point would be with my mom and dad. My dad was a Mexican born in Guadalajara, Jalisco in 1900, in February of 1900. He used to say that he was born in the month of the great men, namely George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. My mom was born in, her birth certificate says El Paso, but she was actually born in a small town on the Rio Grande, very close to El Paso, that was called Smeltertown, Texas, because of the smelting companies that were there. The town came to be a town of mostly Spanish-speaking people, and it existed for almost 100 years. And finally, the people, I think in the 70s, I'm not quite sure of the date, had to move out of there. Excuse me, Tiki, Princess has been sitting on my lap, and I've got her hairs on me, so I have to brush them off. Where was I? The people had to move out because of the high content of lead in the environment, and they so they had to move, and they knocked down all the houses that lived there, so all that was left was the sidewalks and the elm trees that were on the street, and some of the business buildings and the library. But other than that, Smeltertown, Texas, there's no town anymore. My dad was born in Guadalajara in a house on Zaragoza Street, number 144. I'll go back to that, but I just want to say that when I was 13 years old, my dad moved us to Mexico, and I was fortunate to see the place where my father was born. It was a Spanish-style house with a hall in the entrance, which they call a zaguán, and you go from the street through this hall out to a patio that opens up, and around the patio is the rooms. Like to one side was all the bedrooms, to the other side was the living room, and then the dining room, and then beyond, on the other side of the patio, was the kitchen. And then after the kitchen, there was what they called el segundo patio, which was where they did their washing and hanging up the clothes and so forth. But it was very interesting to see where he had been born. He came to this country when he was 17 years old. His mother and all his brothers and sisters, he had 3 brothers besides him and 3 sisters. And the whole family came to this country in 1917 because at that time there was still war going on in Mexico, and his mother didn't want her sons to be drafted into the army, so she came here with all of them. According to what my dad told me, at that time you didn't have to have a passport, or you could have a passport, but you didn't have to have a visa or not too much documentation. He said that you could just walk across the border and you were in here, and that was it, and that's how they got here. They all came except for one of his sisters, who was the second of the 2 sisters. Her name was Maria, and she didn't come because she was already married to Adrian Vallejo. If we can cut away for a minute, I can go get a picture of her so we can see it. Can we do that, Glenn?
Sure.
Okay.